everyone. This is episode 7 of Nadine's Dose of Inspiration, and I'm so excited about this particular episode as well as the others that are going to be following this. And that is because not only the topic, bigger than that, is that I get to do this with my very favorite person in the world. And that is my husband, my best friend, Bentz. This is Bentz, guys. You know I'm always talking about Bentz. I'm always talking about my husband. A lot of the stories includes him, including the AC story. You know, we're not going to talk about that again, but including the AC story, which, of course, he installed, and we're cool. And so that is great. So, yay.
You happy about that?
Yes, I am happy about that for my AC. So you guys get to meet Bentz for the first time, and I'm so excited about that. Bentz, do you want to introduce yourself to the folks?
Well, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me into your online world.
Yes.
I look forward to these next few episodes where you're going to have me join you and have these discussions around relationships and so forth. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad you're looking forward to it. Bentz has just a wellspring of knowledge and insight, and he and I are very different. Let me just get that out to you. We are very different people, and we're going to talk about that as these episodes carry along. And you'll be able to see that too in our personality that shows up on the screens, that we're just very different people. But difference can be complementary. It doesn't have to be competitive. And so God, he gifts us with the differences in each other. And so we'll talk about that a little later. Before we get started, do me a favor, make sure you are sharing this relationship series with those that are perhaps single, or they could be married, or they're in a rough patch. There may be considering divorce. And I'm not saying that this episode is going to stop a person from being divorced, but it may get them to think a little differently about marriage and about that covenant. And so you know that this can be a blessing to someone, a person in waiting, maybe a person that's just can't wait to get married, and that could be even you. But if you know others that could be in the same boat as you, I want to encourage you to share this. Whether you're watching from Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube or Google Podcasts, make sure that you are sharing this out as much as you can. Shout out to Massachusetts. Massachusetts came on in the chat room on YouTube, and so I want to make sure I give a shout out to them. Shout out to Colombia as well, and Mexico. I want to make sure I give a shout out to not only Mexico but also New Mexico. I'm not big on geography, guys. He's the geography man. So, you know, I'm always saying stuff that's wrong about continents and about countries and all that other stuff. But anyway, shout out to New Mexico as well as Mexico, because both of them are joining us. Were joining us at the last podcast. So I want to make sure that we go ahead and give them a shout out. Huh? Well, I'm not worldwide, but you know, we got people that are just joining from everywhere, so many places, and I'm so humbled by that. You know, babe, when I talked to you about this podcast, I didn't know where this was going to go. I knew that this was something that I had been holding off for some time. And then Tanae's our oldest daughter. Hi, Tanae. Tanae's 27 years old. She's our oldest. And she came to me like, Ma, you need to get all the stuff that you're telling me, you need to get it out there to people. And I didn't even think that people would want to hear it, right? I'm always thinking like that. Oh, who's going to want to listen to this? And I'm just so overwhelmed and floored and humbled at the response through these different platforms of people that are watching. And Bentz have always been in my corner to support. And we're going to talk about that, because when you're choosing a mate, vice versa, we have to be able to support one another. The gifts, the purposes, the destiny, the dreams that God has placed inside of you, as well as inside of your mate or your significant other. Okay, so shout out to those individuals from different spaces. Okay, so we're gonna get started. I want to jump right in, guys. I'm trying not to keep this long, babe. But there's so much to cover. Even while we were discussing this, we were wondering, okay, how many questions do we think is legitimate to discover? A few people sent us these questions. Tanae, my two daughters, Tanae, biological, Fabi, my spiritually adopted daughter, they came together and they were like, Mom, you need to make sure you're covering this, that, and the third. Because those are the two people that's constantly talking to me about relationships, and that's Tanae and Fabi. So shout out to both of them. So a lot of these questions came from them. So we're going to jump right in. Okay?
Let's do it.
So the first one, they want to know about being unequally yoked. Okay, so what is this whole concept? The scripture talks about do not be unequally yoked. And while it's talking about those that don't believe as you believe in a spiritual sense, we know that we can be unequally yoked in many different levels. So when we're talking about being unequally yoked, you want to make sure that you are choosing, because this relationships, we're talking about relationship goals, that you're choosing someone. It's not their level of spirituality. It's more. It's not just that. Yes, you want to make sure someone is spiritually compatible. And what I mean is this: if you are having struggles in a relationship, you want to know that you're going to the same manual, right? So we're going to the Bible to look at things. What does God say about what we're dealing with, about what we're struggling with? Because if Bentz is going to one manual and I'm going to another manual, those different manuals could be giving us a different direction. So we want to obviously make sure we're spiritually compatible. It's not just, oh, I believe in a God, right? And then all of a sudden we're getting into rough patches and we're praying to two different gods. That is definitely being unequally yoked. So babe, you had a good concept of this.
Right. So when we talk about unequally yoked, we're meaning that not moving in opposite directions, right? Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that the person that you're with, the one that you end up with, you guys are both moving in the same direction. Whether it be spiritual, in life, basically, just say in life that we're moving in the same direction. Because if you're not moving in the same direction, and you take the terminology yoked, that means you're tied together with this person. And if this person is going in one direction, you're trying to go to another direction.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. It's just going to frustrate the both of you, not just you, but the person that's along with you as well. Because one person is going to be dragging, and the other one is going to be getting dragged. And no one wants to drag anyone, and no one wants to be dragged.
Woo, babe, come on. Listen, that is a good analogy. Listen, because the Bible talks about when it's talking about even yokes and oxens being yoked together, okay? When in the scriptures, when it's talking about oxen, they will put these heavy metals around two different oxens, right? And they're going into different, going to a specific direction. These yokes that were around the oxen necks is what kept the oxen going in the same direction together. That's why the Bible says that Jesus says that we should take his yoke upon us. His yoke is not heavy, it's not burdensome, but it's easy and it is light. When we're yoked together, we are being pulled, dragged. If we're unequally yoked, like Bentz is saying, one is being pulled, the other is being dragged. No one wants to feel pulled. No one wants to feel dragged. No one wants to feel like I'm carrying someone that is a burden in my life. So this is why being unequally yoked is very important. But babe, okay, because I got to help my sisters out there. All right, fellas too, but I'm going to speak for my sisters. When I met him, we looked like we were equally yoked. I mean, I thought we were equally yoked. He went to the same church that I went to. I mean, now all of a sudden I'm married or I'm deep in relationship and I'm starting to see that we have some yoke issues.
Right. So we can't base it on if this person goes to church or not. This person goes to the same church as I do. That's not how you find if that person is equally yoked with you. The way that you find out that this person is equally yoked with you is through conversations, getting to know them. And when you get to know them, you get to understand their mindset. You get to understand the direction that they're moving. And if you're moving in the same direction, then that's a possible match right there. But if you don't take the time to understand that person, know where that person is coming from, where they are in life, where they're going in life, then how can you ever determine if you're equally yoked with that person? That idea that idea that someone goes to church or that person goes to the same church as me or they're serving in church and they're doing all these things, this person has to be equally yoked with me because we're both believers. That's not the all of it, right?
So you could be unequally yoked and be both believers.
Both believers, you can still be unequally yoked
because we're going in different opposite directions. And okay, so babe, because we wanted to talk about finances and I don't want to bring it up here, so I'm gonna pause on that because when we're going in opposite directions and we're still believers, our priorities are off.
That's right.
We don't have the same priorities in life. This person may be in pursuit of climbing the corporate ladder, which is okay. But if that is their priority, that is going to come before you. And that comes before them and their God, right? And so this is where we're being pulled or being dragged in two different directions. right? Because you're going in one direction in life, and I'm going. We both, so to speak, believe in God, but our priorities are off when it comes to God. Let me tell you something about being unequally yoked, or just seeing, okay, is this the guy or is she the woman? Because it goes both ways. Because guys can get blurred by what they see, right? She's attractive. She looks good. So they disregard all the flags that they're seeing, that we're not yoked together, right? We're going in different directions. And what causes them to be blinded by that is by the visual attraction that they see. Girls, we ladies, we get off course by how we feel.
Your feeling is fleeting, right?
Feelings are fleeting. And people can say the right things. How many times I've been there in the past where they just said the right things and a feeling came over me. But like Bentz is saying, those stuff are fleeting. And feelings that I had, I don't know, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, the butterflies, that's not going to matter when we're going through true storms in life. Mm-hmm. Those feelings are gone. Go ahead, baby.
What I was going to say is that just like looks, right? For the guys, looks are fleeting as well, right?
Mm-hmm. I still look
gorgeous.
good.
You're always going to look gorgeous in my eyes.
Good answer. But what we want to look for, like both of us are saying, what we want to look for, we want to look for fruits.
We want to look for fruits. We want to look for long-lasting fruits, right? You want to see...
not temporary
fruits. Temporary fruits. You want to see how the character of this person, the consistency of this person, how does this person live life, right? Not the way they look, not what they have, because all of those things come and go. We want to look for things that last, things that can grow with you. Those are the things that we truly want to focus on, not the fleeting things, not the temporary things.
Some of the things that I look for too, as signs or flags, is this person that I really want to be yoked with. How do they treat, if they have children prior to our relationship, how do they treat their children? How do they treat their kids? I mean, are they showing up at their kids' games? Are they going to their kids' recitals? Are they going to their kids' plays? Do you see that they have a love relationship with their children, and you see the fruit of that? How do they talk about their previous relationships? First of all, are they always talking about their previous relationships? Or are they bad-mouthing? Because if he can bad-mouth the previous person that he was with for all these years, then I'm concerned about how he will talk about me. And then something that I saw and I respected in you, babe, is how do they talk about their mother? How do they treat their mother? If a guy is disrespectful to his mother, there's no telling. And I would not be surprised if he's going to disrespect me. Because that's the first woman of his life. It's his mother. And if he's mistreating her, ill-treating her, calling her names, and disrespecting her, I'm running from that guy.
In other relationships as well, just see how that person acts around other people, how they're treating other people.
Yes.
Because to you, they're gonna put their best foot forward, right? They're gonna put the shiny personality out there. But when you start to spend time with them and start to spend time with them with other people around as well, their friends, how are they around their friends? How are they around your friends? Then you get to see the personality. Then you get to see the true person that comes out. You may not see it the first time you guys hang out, maybe not even the second time, but the true person will come out. So the time that you spend with them with other people as well, seeing how they treat other people, those are flags that you could pay attention to.
Let me just say this, because I don't want people to think this is unequally yoked. We're not talking about how much Bible knowledge a person has.
That's right.
Right? That doesn't make a person. A person could have a whole lot of Bible knowledge, and y'all are still unequally yoked, because they may have Bible knowledge, but they don't live out the knowledge that they have. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about, is this person really when it's talking about Christianity and follower of Christ and believer in God, do they really prioritize God? Is God really the first love of their lives? Are they putting me before God? I don't want anyone that puts me before God. God first, okay? Because when they're having trouble with me, I want to know that this person knows how to run to God. They know how to get direction from God. And we'll talk about that in the coming weeks, of just different issues that we had in the beginning of our relationship. And I thank God that Bentz knew how to go to God. That he knew how to go to God to pray for me. I didn't even know he was praying for me in these regards, but he was. And that's what God used to help cultivate even a deeper love in his heart for me. until I got to a place where I needed to get to. And this, it comes in different ways. It may be that this person is good with finances, there's a struggle in finances, and it's causing it to be a problem in our marriage. Or it could be how they handle problems. One person wants to talk about the problem, the other person is not ready to talk about the problem, or the other person handles problems differently than you do.
So what you're kind of talking about is the fruit of that person, right? What are they putting forth? Not like you said, it's not about the Bible knowledge or how much time they spend at church, but how do they treat people? How do they react to situations? How do they deal with difficult situations?
Sorry.
Do they handle it in a godly way, or do they handle it in a worldly way? Do they jump and attack when something goes wrong, or do they address the issue in a very pragmatic matter, right? So you're paying attention to all these things. We have to be careful that we're just not listening to what someone says, but we're watching and seeing what they do, not what they say.
We will know them by their fruits.
That's right.
Okay, the other one that we want to talk about here is comparison traps. You know, this whole idea of hashtag relationship goals. So you see a picture on social media, or on TikTok or Instagram or wherever you see this picture, and you see these people traveling, you see them taking pictures, or you see the gloss that they put before everyone, and you're thinking, you know what, honey, that's how we should be. How come we're not doing it like them? How come we're not looking like them? How come we don't travel like them? Well, you know what? I remember in videos. You remember videos back in the day, babe? And we would see all these fancy cars in the videos. And these...
Rented. But go ahead.
And these nice clothing in the videos. And it's like, I need to be wearing that. I need those cars. And I didn't even know that these were borrowed. These were rented. These didn't even belong to the celebrities or the rap stars or the musicians in the video. But you're killing yourself to get what's not even real. Right? So these relationship goals, let me tell you what's a true relationship goal. Building the relationship that you have between two people. That's true relationship goal. Developing what we have. That's true relationship goals. What do we want for our marriage? I'm not looking what Jada and Will have for their marriage. Hello. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for, because it may look like something that it is not. So I'm trying to water the grass that I have with my marriage instead of looking at the grass that's over in somebody else's marriage, thinking it's greener over there. No, the grass is greener where you water it.
You're looking at fake grass sometimes.
Oh, turf.
Turf, that's right.
Turf.
You're looking at turf
These
grass.
are turf grass. It's not real. It's fake. You touch it and you begin to see it's plastic. We have to water the grass that we have on this side. So that, and we're not looking at the grass that somebody has on their side, because it may be turf, astroturf, and not the real deal. So I want us to be careful about the whole idea of relationship goals. That's a trap. Stop looking at someone else's relationship and comparing it with yours. You can have aspirations, but as long as you're not looking for your relationship to be in competition with someone else.
That's the worst thing for you, to compare yourself to someone else, right? Because one, that's what breeds jealousy, when you start comparing yourself
and
to
resentment.
others. And resentment.
You start resenting what you have because it doesn't look like what someone else has. And do not compare your current relationship with previous relationships.
No.
This is that's a setup for failure. So now I'm looking at, well, he did me like this, and she treated me like this, and you're not doing. No. Because if I'm comparing it to a previous relationship, I'm not valuing the person I'm in a relationship with now. I'm dishonoring them. I'm wanting them to become someone they are not, and not valuing the person who they really are. And so let's be careful not to bring previous relationships, even previous relationship struggles, into now all of a sudden everything this person do, you're thinking, well, you're just gonna be like so and so. No, that's unfair to the person that we're in a relationship. Now he's competing with a relationship that he doesn't even know about, or she doesn't even know about. Because you're putting these two people together. And I could go into depth with this comparison, because it can go even into sexual intimacy. You're comparing relationships from previous relationships. No. Leave and cleave. No, I left all of that behind me. And I'm cleaving to what God has in front of me. Oh, come on, somebody. I'm cleaving to what God has blessed me with that's in front of me. Right? So just be be conscientious of the comparison trap. Standards. We want to talk about standards, right? What are the standards that you're setting? If you're a single person, what kind of standards are you setting for the relationships or the relationship that you want to be in? Okay, so are you an Acura setting standards for your spouse or the person that you want to be with, and their standards, you're at an Acura level, but the standards you set for them is at a Rolls Royce level?
I'm a little offended by that comparison.
Okay, because
I drive an Acura.
Okay, but babe, the Acura you have is not a Rolls Royce. Right? But you have this standard for yourself. But the standard that you're giving for the mate that you're going to one day be with is at a higher level than the standard that you set for yourself. If I want a godly man, if I'm a woman and I want a godly man, that's a great standard to set. But you, as a female, must be a godly woman.
Yeah, so you when you work on yourself, right? One, you got to work on yourself first. Focusing on everybody else, what they have to do, what they need to do. Okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to get myself in order and so forth? And when you're working on yourself to get yourself in order, you're going to attract what you're bringing, what you're putting out there. That's just the bottom line. So it depends where you are. If you're working on yourself, it's gonna follow where you go to, who the people you're gonna be around, and so forth. So if you're working on yourself, then you're going to attract what you're putting out there.
Okay, can I jump in? Sorry, I gotta jump in on this. Men and women that are watching this, a marriage and a relationship does not complete us. It does not complete you. So you're looking for who you want out there, but that's not what we should be looking for. What we should be looking for is who I am becoming. So I want a marriage, or I want a husband, or I want a spouse. Let's just say that I want a spouse, but am I becoming spouse material?
That's right.
So am I working on myself? I know that there are certain things that even in our singlehood, and obviously into our marriage, but definitely into our singlehood, that we could be working on.
But not even with the intent on becoming a spouse.
No, because your goal is not, I'm not living my life trying to get married.
No,
there's right. So much more in life than my marital status. There's stuff that God has placed on the inside of us that he wants to bring out before the world. But if we're only focused on, I got to get a man in order to be somebody, then the real issue is identity. The real issue is self-worth. The real issue is a self-value. So if you're still single and you're wondering why you're still single, it could be because you don't place enough worth on yourself yet. And if you bring that lack of self-worth into a marriage, it's going to disrupt that marriage. It's going to bring confusion into that marriage. It's going to bring division into that marriage, because you're going to look for that marriage to complete you. But you should have been complete before you said I do.
That's right.
You're not looking. What completes you is God. God completes me. I'm not looking for a man to complete me. I'm not looking for a woman to complete me. I'm not looking for a ring to tell me now I am somebody, or now I have worth, or now I have value. No, I was having worth and value before this person came into the picture. So even if they choose to leave, guess what? I'm still standing.
That's right. Know your value. If you don't know your own value, how do you expect someone else to know your value?
Because people they're going to treat you the way you see yourself.
That's right.
So how you value yourself, the self-worth that you have within yourself, people are going to treat. Matter of fact, I've noticed this, babe, and I'm not throwing guys under the bus, but I got to say this, right? I believe that there are certain individuals that they test females, or maybe a female as well, but I'm talking about the guys, but females can put a little feeler, put a little test out there, right? So if I say that I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and I want to do things, my standard is, one of my standards is, I did it before and I don't want to do it in this relationship. I do not want to have premarital sex. Right? That's just a standard that I'm setting for myself. I want to keep myself. I want to keep purity. I want to be pure. I want my wedding bed to be undefiled going into my wedding bed, right? And so I share this up front, and we're going to talk about boundaries in a second, but I share this up front, and that's my standard. And this person says, well, we're going to get married one day, so we might as well do this now, because this is going to be a part of marriage anyway, so we're going to get married one day anyway. And they're not valuing a standard that I've set about myself. And they keep pushing me and pushing me. And I'm setting my standard because it's based on my worth and my value. And they keep pushing against this worth and against this value. Then if they don't value these things that I value, then I wonder, do they value me? Because now they're pushing me to go against my worth. They're pushing me to go against my value. Then I got to ask them, how do you truly see me? Because if I'm trying to tell you that this is just a standard that I have for myself, I'm not even putting the standard in, I'm putting the standard on myself. And you're trying to tell me, well, we just can't be together. Well, we can't go forward unless this takes place. Then guess what? We can't go forward.
So on the flip side to that, right? So let me talk to the guys a little bit, right? So if you are, and this is based on conversations that I've had, you know, so you're what is it? Protesting? Not protesting.
What?
Proclaiming Jesus, and you're walking the Christian walk, right? And you're saying this, but then you're pushing the guy towards this sexual relationship. That's contradicting what you're saying, right? So then there's a conflict in what you're saying and what you're doing, and then when you do that, again, you put in less value on yourself. So now this guy's not going to look at you with the same eyes that he would have looked at you if you would have stuck to your guns and stuck to your principles. But if you're contradicting what you're saying, then he's not going to take you seriously anyway.
And he could be testing, right? He's putting out a feel. Is she really who she says she is? Right? I'm going to see how she responds to this.
How she responds to this. Is she really walking the walk, or is she just talking the talk? Let's see how that goes. Right? So if you're not walking the way you're talking, then I'm not going to take you seriously. So now this is just a flyby for me at this point, because you're not who you say you are. So we got to watch it on both sides as well.
We got to make sure that we're not looking for a relationship, like I said, to complete us. Your identity is not wrapped in a person or in a marriage. Your identity is wrapped in God. Okay? So if they ever go, you're still standing firm within yourself. Your self-worth and value cannot be tied to a person. Your self-worth and value cannot be tied to a person. It must be tied to something that is immovable, something that is unshakable, something that is firm, and that is God. Ladies and gentlemen, we still must have standards. We must still have standards that we set for ourselves. This is because if you don't have standard, then you will settle for anything. Then you will settle for things that are not indicative of your worth. Right? So you want things that will complement your worth, because this is how God sees you. This is how he's created you. He's created with intrinsic worth and intrinsic value. And so how I carry myself with that truth in place, how I carry myself will confirm or not confirm what I'm saying. Am I valuable or am I not valuable? And people will see that. And what I realize, babe, is that people will treat me how I treat myself.
Absolutely.
And how I treat myself is based on how I see myself, of someone of value and worth. And listen, sometimes we just got to get there. We're not there, right? Let's just be honest with it. This is why if you're single, you're not looking to be married. You're looking to get a stance of worth. You're looking to get a cultivation of your value and your intrinsic worth and your identity before you start thinking, okay, because it is okay to say I'm ready for a marriage. It's okay to say that, okay, God, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. But I'm not going looking underneath every rock. Could it be you? Could it be you? No. I'm enjoying life. I'm being me. I'm developing self. I'm growing. I'm traveling. I'm doing all these things. And when it's time, the two will come. And y'all know, we talked about how Bentz and I came together. I think it was episode 1 or 2, but you'll need to go back and look at that, because we were in 2 different states. Didn't even know that each other was even living. But God saw it fit at the right time to bring us together. Now, yes, we have to cooperate absolutely with that. And we had to be in the best space of mind, where we were in life and all of that, so that we were compatible. But God was working on us individually before he brought us together collectively. So you want to make sure that you're in a space that you're growing and God is working on you. So that's standards, babe. Do you want to add anything to that before we go?
No, I want to jump into the next one, boundaries. That kind of leads into what we were just discussing.
So standards then go into boundaries, right? What does boundaries look like as a single person, and what does boundary look like as a married person? And why do we need boundaries?
To protect ourselves from ourselves. We need to put those things in place that doesn't allow us to go further than we want to go. So we have to put those boundaries in place so that we can protect ourselves from our weaknesses, from our desires, our unhealthy desires, I should say, and to make sure that we don't fall into some of these traps that are out there, right? Because it's easy to fall into these traps out here. It's easy. So we have to put these things in place to make sure that we're protecting ourselves against these traps that are laid out there.
And I love what you said. Boundaries is to protect ourselves from ourselves. Listen, we have weaknesses. We have shortcomings, right? There are things that we can get tethered to that is unhealthy for us. And so we want to, and I was speaking to Bentz about this earlier. Okay, how do I protect myself? How do I put boundaries in place when I'm getting to know someone? I want to get to know them, right? And I don't want to fall too quickly or too deep that I can't untether. So how do I guard myself from being so pulled in, from being so locked in while I'm getting to know a person, and then find out, okay, wait a minute, I'm running from this person, but now it's too late because I've tethered myself. Well, putting boundaries in place protects you from being so tethered in and locked into a relationship that now you find out this is the wrong relationship and you're trying to run, but you have emotional counterfeit oneness with this person. You've become emotionally tied to this person. You become, if you become physically intimate, that just put a whole nother gamut. That just put a whole nother level of your tetheredness when you become sexually intimate with a person that you're not married to. Walking away. I love this illustration I saw. I saw an illustration, Velcro. Okay, so now that we're in this relationship, right? I'm getting to know you. I'm a single person. I'm getting to know you. You're getting to know me. And we get into this relationship. But now I didn't put boundaries in place. And let's just say boundaries. When do we want to set the boundaries, babe?
From the start.
We want to set boundaries from the start because it will be very difficult to set boundaries while you're into the relationship. Right? Because once you get in and now you're trying to set these boundaries, my heart is already pulled into it. And so now I'm going to move the boundary line to the level that my heart is already committed.
So it's harder to step out, right? When you've already stepped in, it's harder for you to step out. So the best choice is for never to step in to begin with until you're ready to do that step in. Yeah,
until you're ready to set those boundaries, you want to communicate the boundaries up front. Communicate it to that person. And if they're saying, listen, I can't sign off on those boundaries.
Then you're unequally yoked. There you go. Boom. So, and the thing, and what I want to touch on is that boundaries are going to look different for different everyone. People, right? So you know what your weaknesses are. For a guy how you might get if a girl is, I don't know, whatever, kissing on your neck, or you spending time together, alone together, whatever you know what your weaknesses are. So if you know your weakness is this, then you're not going to do this because you know that this is going to lead to that. So if you don't want to go to that, then don't do this. So you already know that. So you put those things in place from the beginning. Both of you guys are on the same page. And if one is not on the same page, then you know, okay, this.
And then if one is tripping up there, you can say, remember what we said?
Exactly.
Remember what we communicated? Remember what we agreed upon? And if this person keeps pushing, he's not respecting, or she's not respecting your boundaries.
I see you keep leaning on the guys. I see you.
Sorry. So we just want to make sure that we communicate our boundaries and we set those boundaries in place. Boundaries protects you and it guards your heart. Going back to that illustration, this doctor guy, I remember he was I was at a seminar, I was at a single seminar, and he said, when you don't have boundaries and you go into this relationship and all of a sudden now you guys are coming off as if you're married, but you're not. Right? You're doing things as if you're a married couple. You're acting like this person is your covenantal agreement and all of that. And then it doesn't work out and you guys are going your separate ways. He said, take Velcro, put two things together, Velcro together. And you know that sound that it makes when you're trying to tear that Velcro apart? It's like, that's what's happening to your heart. That's that tearing that is happening to your heart. Why? You did not set up boundaries to protect it. And now you are cutting it. You are tearing it. And what happens, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, then you have that scar, you have that weight, you have that baggage, and you bring that into your next relationship. And then you didn't put boundaries in place. You didn't learn from your previous mistake. And the same thing happened again. So these are stacks that's being built in your life. And now here comes your Boaz. Here comes the man or the woman that you are supposed to marry. And you just attach them with all that stuff that you went through. This is why in our singlehood, we got to deal with our soul ties. We got to deal with the things that are still tethered to us. We're looking for these relationships, but we're not ready. Matter of fact, you know you're not ready when you're looking for a marriage to complete you. That's why you know you're not ready. When you need the relationship, you know you're not ready. When you need the ring, when you need the marriage, when you need it, you're not ready for it. You're not ready for it. I remember when Bentz and I, prior to Bentz coming into the picture, I remember saying to God, please do not send anyone in my life at this point in my life. Why? Because I was feeling so fulfilled in life. I was in ministry. I loved where I was in life. I was loving God. And I said to God one day in my apartment, I said, don't send someone now because I don't want anyone to come between us. Oh gosh, I didn't want anyone to come because when you're married, you got to give attention to your spouse.
Thank you.
What do you mean, thank you?
I just wanted you to say it.
Yes, you got to give attention to your spouse. So, I mean, I'm a book person. I have books everywhere. I have books in my bed. I have books under the bed. I have books in my closet, in the attic. I have books
in the kitchen, in the garage. Go ahead, keep calling it. Yep,
in the kitchen, in the garage. You can't see it right now, but there's a whole wall in my garage. It's just books, right? So Bentz is always trying to dump my books. You think I don't see you, babe? I see your strategy.
It's the 21st century, babe.
I don't want electronic books. I mean, I have Audible, but I like the feel of the paper. You know, I like making my notes. I know I can do that on Audible. It's not the same. It's not the same. So anyway, Bentz was not in the picture or anything like that yet. And I just enjoyed my time with God, spending time reading all my books as much as I pleased and as I wanted to. And I told God, not now. 2 months later.
Here I come. Here I am.
Here comes Bentz knocking on a friend of ours, Tanya. Shout out to Tanya. Tanya, look at episode 1 or 2 and you'll see how that happened. But God brought Bentz into my, here's what I believe God saw. Nadine, because you're not running after the gift, you're running after the gift giver, which is God, I can trust you with the gift. When we're so caught up and infatuated with the gift, the minute that gift comes, you're going to forget the giver of the gift. And you're going to be so focused on the gift that you forgot the one who assigned it to begin with. This is why we have to be careful that we're not looking for marriages and relationships and a person to complete our lives, to bring satisfaction to our life. No, my satisfaction is complete in God. Everything else are bonuses in life. The husband that he gives me, the family that he gives me does not come before God. I think unequally yoked is when people have other things also before God. And I know I'm going back there because it's so important. Because people, all of this that we're talking about is all encompassing. It's all intertwined. It's comprehensive. This thing about marriage. So about boundaries and marriage and relationships. So you want to make sure that you put some boundaries around your heart to protect you. Okay, and if they cannot honor the boundaries, then we got to part ways. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. This is just not going to work. In relationship, in a marriage, you also need boundaries.
Absolutely need boundaries. So I think we were just discussing this, right? So we need to understand some of the things that our spouse, my wife, is uncomfortable with, right? And she would communicate that with me. So if she sees me having a conversation that's a little bit too long with the opposite sex, with a female or what have you, then she'll let me know, like, you know what, that conversation looked a little bit too long. It might give off the wrong impression. So now I make sure that conversations are short, right? Hi, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Keep it short and keep it going.
And what you're doing when you do that
is honoring you.
That's it. He's honoring me. He's honoring my wishes. He's honoring my boundaries. And listen, we're not setting boundaries to control one another. We're not setting it like we want to respect our spouse. So the things that I'm doing even in Ben's absence, does this honor him? Does this respect? Babe, I think people have the wrong idea about marriage. Marriage is not about the bed. Marriage is sacrifice. I make sacrifices for my spouse, right? I honor them. I respect my spouse. And the spouse is supposed to reciprocate. They honor, they respect. These are the things I want to see even while we're dating.
That's right. You'll see it while you're dating, exactly. If you don't see it while you're dating, then you have to think, okay, is this the right person for me to begin with?
That's right. Because what they were prior to marriage, expected in the marriage. Oh, it's not that they can't grow, guys. They can grow. They may not. So what you see prior to marriage, expected in the marriage. We're going to talk about signs. I don't know if we're going to talk about flags. We're going to talk about red flags and warning signs and all of that. We're going to talk about that. I don't know if it's this one or in the ones to come. But I want to encourage you. Set your boundaries as a single person. Set your boundaries as a married person. What makes you feel uncomfortable that your spouse is doing with the opposite sex, whether it's text with their coworkers or whatever the case may be. Make sure there's healthy boundaries there, and make sure that you communicate to your spouse the things that make you feel uncomfortable. Do not walk around on eggshells about that.
And the same weaknesses you had prior to marriage, you're gonna have the same weaknesses after marriage as well. So understand your weaknesses. Understand that you can't do this. You know, there are certain things you just can't do that you weren't doing before marriage. You shouldn't be doing after marriage. Again, I go to the opposite sex. I always use the example. If you're at work and there's a attractive lady there and she's giving you a little bit more than enough attention or what have you, then you guys go to lunch. It's innocent. You guys go to a second lunch and so forth. But you gotta put a quick stop to that and say, okay, what's going on here? To say, okay, is this going someplace where I don't want it to go? So you have to see those signs. You have to put those boundaries in place. Like, maybe I shouldn't be going out to lunch with this person.
No, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't, right?
You shouldn't be going. Yeah, you shouldn't be going. You shouldn't be. You know what? And sometimes, let me tell you, the human attraction is strong. Sometimes you already saw it by the look in the eye. Mm-hmm. How you guys looked at each other. How you guys brushed past one another. That human attraction, that thing is strong. For animals, they put out their feathers and all this other stuff, right? That extra stuff. For humans, it's the body language. It's the eye. It's the how the laugh.
That extra laugh. You weren't even that funny. Right?
It wasn't even that funny. It's like, no, it was not that funny at all, right? So you're seeing all these things, and you're seeing the hazard sign. You're seeing the caution blocks. You're seeing it way in advance. You run. I love what Joseph did, babe. He ran from that woman. That woman was a Jezebel. She was coming after him with everything she had to sink her claws into him. And let me tell you what this does. All right, listen. Benz and I are different. I'm very passionate, right? You see it. You see it in me. Stop looking at He's Mr. Cool, we dated in high school. He's been this way from high school, Mr. Cool. But let me say, that's what attracted me to Benz. I didn't want someone like me. Matter of fact, God rarely brings two people together to be married that are the same type of people. Opposites attract. The opposites aren't meant to compete. It's meant to complement. There's things in Benz that I desire, that helps me, that helps my development and my growth, and vice versa. I bring that up because when it gets to certain things, I get passionate about it. He's passionate, but he has a different way of showing it. Babe, how do you show your passion?
I don't get loud like you do.
I don't get loud.
Yeah.
It's passion.
That's passion.
Yes.
That's your interpretation, but that's all right. Yes.
What was I saying? Now I forgot what I was saying. Listen, but you want to make sure that you're putting these boundaries in place as a marriage, in your marriage, because here's the enemy's thing. This is where I was going. He wants to assault. He wants to assault your marriage. He wants to destroy your marriage. He wants to come in and listen. Marriage is the only relationship that God says the two shall become one. It's not between a parent and a child. It's not between a mother and their son or two best friends or whatever. The only relationship, and it says that the two shall become one, is the institution of marriage. That is how powerful it is. And if the enemy can destroy a marriage, he will destroy a family. It will take the kids with them. That shows up in community, which shows up in society and impacts the world. All he has to do is go after the two that were once one. Divide them. Get them separate. Get them on their corners. Get them. And the biggest thing that challenges that comes up in our marriage, babe, is what? Finances, yeah, finances. But finances is big. He's trying to get to the next point. Finances is big. But the biggest thing that comes up in marriage that can destroy a marriage, pride.
Oh, yep.
Pride. The things that we went through in the beginning of our years together, pride was the root of it all. This is why we got to work on ourselves before we enter into these covenant relationship, especially a marriage. We got to let God undo some things, take out some things, our selfishness.
Because marriage is about love, right? And the first thing about love is sacrifice.
It's sacrifice.
No greater love than this is just to sacrifice yourself.
And that's what marriage is all about, being sacrificial.
So I want to kind of talk about when you talked about the assault on the marriage and the family and so forth. What we have to understand is that the enemy is cunning, and he doesn't come at you in full assault. He comes at you slowly. So we always have to be watchful of his, the tactics and the little things. You have to be careful of the little things, because the little things become big things before you know it. So if you address the little things as soon as they pop up, then they never become big. But once they become big, it's difficult to deal with them. Yeah. So you have to address the smaller things before they get big.
Good stuff, babe. Remember to set these boundaries to honor your spouse. It's not to hinder them or control them. It's to protect our relationship. Be careful too in your boundaries. With boundaries, be careful of third-party intrusions. The voices that you bring into your marriage, in your relationships. Let me talk to you about it. Let me talk to you what we going through. Let me tell you what we going through. Let me put it on social media, what we going through. If they're not a part of the problem or the solution, we have no business talking to them about it. Okay? We have to work out our issues among ourselves. In the beginning, the first 2 years, one of those years, we went to someone, another couple, because we were having problems. We went to another couple for marital counsel. But they had wisdom. We needed their wisdom. They had been married for much longer than we were. We were newly married, and they had insights that we didn't have. They had wisdom that we didn't have. And we went to them like, help, because divorce is not an option for us. And we had made that very clear from the very beginning. Divorce is off the table. So if we're not going to get a divorce and we're having these problems, then guess what? The only alternative is we got to work out these problems. And I had my side, he had his side, and we needed a couple that had a neutral side.
To bring you to my side.
And then Ben's got on my side. So, no, we got on God's side, and his side is the right side. All right. You heard that, babe?
I heard that.
Come on, somebody.
Loud and clear.
Okay, so finally, financial compatibility. So, guys, listen. So when Benz and I started, we were dating. He had already proposed to me, and now we're trying to set things together, right? So that when we walked into a marriage, everything was already in place. So, which is very important. You want to be an asset. When you guys are coming together, you want to be an asset and not a liability. So, what are you bringing to the table as a person of worth and substance and value and all of that, of course, but also tangible things, right? Are you a weight financially in the relationship? And if you do have financial baggage and stuff like that, I would say in your singleness, you want to deal with that. You want to deal with any financial debt and all of that. Not that marriage depends on all that, but finances is a huge part.
It is. So even though you may
this
not
is his
be,
area, by the way, finances. So he's going to talk a whole lot. Anyway, go ahead.
Even though you may not be where you want to be, and you have, I don't know, liabilities, whatever, credit cards, student loans, what have you. But as long as you're moving in the right direction, that's the key. So when we're saying this about being financially compatible and so forth, we were in two different stages in our financial world, right?
Yeah, we were.
We were at two different stages. But
I should say this though.
Go ahead, talk.
We were in, okay, so we're both from Brooklyn, okay? So I would go, Benz, I like nice things. I like nice things, guys. Like nice things. So I hear you. So I like nice things, right? So and it's okay to like nice things. We got to make sure that nice things don't become our priority, because it can sabotage our lives. Because sometimes we live outside of our financial means, because what we like is bigger than our pockets can hold. Okay, what we like is bigger than our bank accounts can support, than what our bank accounts can support. And so I was liking nice things. So I looked, I put myself together a certain way, and always have put myself together a certain way and all of that other stuff. But it's not like if my bank account was matching what you saw on the outside. On the flip side, this is why I'm telling you, two people can be opposites. They can be opposite, and God uses the opposite to help one another. So on the flip side, Bentz is not flashy. He's not, into fancy stuff or anything like that. He likes quality. Don't get me wrong. If he's going to buy something, it's going to be something of quality and of worth, okay? Me, I just, if I like it, whatever, quantity. So I saw Bentz, and he had a very simple car, and he had a very simple apartment, okay, in New York. And I had, my car was okay. It's not like if I had a fancy car or anything. But Ben's car was just very simple. He had no car payments, you didn't have any car payments on that car. So he had no car payments. His apartment, guys, listen to me, okay?
It was awesome, babe. It was awesome.
He had one couch. I think you had one couch.
One couch, one TV stand, one TV, one bed, and a dresser.
And a dresser, right? And he already had kitchen plates.
Yo, I had two. By myself. What else do I need?
So guys, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy he's in poverty. Like, I'm gonna have to help him. I'm gonna have to finance. Now we're already engaged. So I'm like, so I was already I wasn't going into a relationship looking for this man to take care of me financially at all. So I'm going in like, I'm gonna have to help him. This poor guy with his little car. I'm gonna have to help him. So now we're getting married, and the realtor, we're purchasing our townhouse, because when we get married, we said we just wanted to say I do and move directly into our new home together. Okay, so we're purchasing our townhouse. So the realtor called me and said, "Oh, Nadine, I need Ben's financial statements." So I was like, "Oh, it's not gonna be much, I'll get that information for you and call you back." Mm-hmm. So I called Ben's and I said, "All right, so how much do you make? How much do you make?" So he told me how much he made, and I said, no, not in a month. Like, how much do you make in a week? And he's like, "No, that's how much I make in a week." I said, "Every week?" He's like, "Yeah, that's how much I make every week." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I said, "Well, do you have any net worth? Like, do you have any savings? Like who does that? Like, who has savings, right?" So I was like, yeah. So he was like, "Yeah, I have savings." I was like, "Okay, let me know how much savings." And then he began to tell me how much his savings were, guys. And it was lots of numbers. And I was like, "No, seriously, like, I got to tell the realtor the truth. I got to tell him what you actually have." He was like, "Yeah, I have that, and I have other accounts too." And I was like, so I said, "Hold on for a second." So I put the phone down. Guys, true story. In my office, I got on my knees, and I began to thank God for this financially stable man. This man's financial net worth was so strong. I've never seen anything like it. He was prepared for a marriage. He was prepared to take care of a family. He was prepared, guys. And this is the thing that's so important. I looked the part, but I was not the part. I had debt because Benz is a financial guy. So when he got, "Okay, tell me all your debt," and I started listing all my debt to this man, and he began to write down typing on that spreadsheet, the college loans that I had, the credit cards all these different debt, which impacts his net worth, because in marriage, everything comes together. So my debt becomes his debt, but his asset became my asset. But this is so important. This whole financial compatibility. The key was I was willing to change.
That's the thing. That's right.
I wanted to change.
So it would have been very difficult And I mean, we had some difficulties.
We
right?
did.
We had some difficulties
because
in this
it
area.
learned behavior.
Exactly. So, but if she wasn't willing to adjust her behavior, then it would have made life so much more difficult. And it was difficult in the beginning, but we overcame that.
Yeah.
But we were working towards something.
Yes.
Together, we're working towards
Yes,
it.
yes.
The process was difficult, but we were still walking towards the same direction.
And the process was difficult because I was just used to spending as I pleased. And now it's not just my finances, it's our finances. And he's looking at the accounts and he's like, where's all this money going? And I'm like, don't control. I mean, I don't want to be controlled. Like, I want to spend, I want to be in debt if I want to. I want to be in debt for the rest of my life. And he's like, I don't want to raise a family in debt. I want us to have a pursuit of being able to retire. I don't want to work because I have to. I want to work if we want to. And I'm like, oh, like, I've never spoken to a person about retirement, like in a relationship. Like, they don't talk about retirement. And here was this guy, he had that. Listen, God was blessing my life. And I was still trying to live a certain way that would have had me in poverty, looking the part, but not having the financial credibility to support what I looked like on the outside. And then we would have birthed children with the same impoverished mentality. And so we have to realize that when we are getting married, when we're getting into these relationships, it's everything that's coming into that relationship. It's their past. If they still got baggage from past relationship, that's showing up. If there's baggage, if they still have soul ties to past relationships, that's showing up. If they still have addictions, if they still have strongholds and addictions, marriage does not solve it. This is why we got to work on these things in our singlehood. And if you're married, you're sitting out there like, well, I'm married, I'm stuck. I got a spouse, and they don't look at finances like that. I'm looking at finances like that, and they don't. It's still not late. We talked about having conversations. Bentz had to have conversations with me because I was thinking that he was trying to control me, and what he was trying to do is lead our family into financial freedom, so that we can take these vacations and we can have our kids experience life outside of Fort Lauderdale, right? So all of these things he was trying to bring, but how he said it was just as important as to what he was saying.
Right. So in the beginning, it was like an attack mode, right? Like,
Yes.
why are you spending this? What you doing?
Listen,
with
he
the
had the
phone?
finances on his phone. If I showed up in a mall and I gave a credit card
Watching everything.
in BCBG, he would call me. What did you just spend? What did you just buy at BCBG? I'm like, what? Like, leave me alone. Stay away from me. But what God was trying to do, he was trying to say that this man that I gave you, Nadine, is to complement, is to be an asset in your life, is to bless your life, is to love your life. And yes, it's a sacrifice that we make one for another, but the sacrifices that we're making for each other, it's what's going to carry us through on the other side. It's what's going to bless us. It's going to bless our legacy. It's what our children is going to reap from. He had to help me to see this is where we're trying to get. I remember that day sitting with Benz and you having this spreadsheet with all the numbers, and I'm like, I don't want to look at this spreadsheet. I don't want to look at pie charts of where my shoes are going and where my nails. I don't want to put categories to my getting my nails done, getting my hair done, right? But he was trying to help me to see this is the goal, babe. The goal is so that we can have financial freedom, so that we can pay for our kids' college. The goal is so that we can, when our kids' first college present, we can buy them a car. This is the goal. We got to get outside of the lower mentality and start thinking higher. And no, we're not there, but we can start now. We can start somewhere. So I'm saying if you're stuck with a spouse that's not thinking that way, start doing your research, getting your spread, whatever it is. You know, we have spreadsheets and mint.
The goal is, right, so if you guys are not currently right now on the same wavelength in terms of finances and so forth, don't make it personal. If you make it personal, then it feels like the other person's being attacked and they're going to put their defenses up. What you need to do is make it objective. This is what it is. This is where we are, and this is where we want to get to. If we continue down this path, we're not going to be able to get to where we get to. So it's not my opinion. It's not what I think, but these are what the numbers are telling us. So if you make it objective and put it in clear language, then it helps to see that. It helps the other person to see where you're coming from, what you're trying to achieve, what the goal is, and it's no longer a personal attack on you. But okay, this is where we are. Where do we want to go?
This took a time, guys, because I think when we're going into relationships and marriage, no one talks about this. We look at how cute the person is. We look at how attractive we are to them. Maybe even how they worship the Lord, right? Oh, they go to church. Listen, the issues of finances, because that's where your heart is, where your treasure is, right?
Part of the fruit.
It's a part of that fruit. And that stuff shows up in our marriage. And that's something that we have to work on. It will cause a divorce. These kinds of things will bring, they say that's the number one reason for divorce is this financial issue that we're talking about. And it shows up. Ben just talked about, things, how we talk about it if you're in it right now. If you're not in it right now and you're still single, I wish someone would have told me, have some financial stability, not because you want to one day be married, but for your own life, right? So you're not having a ball and chain around your ankle, because the borrower is a slave to the lender. The lender controls the borrower. Your credit is a huge thing in this society. What you can get, what you can afford, what they will allow you to be able to buy, your credit. I mean, all of these things, we got to start telling these to our kids. We got to teach it to the next generation. How to be financially responsible. You know how many, Jesus talked about finances, how many times throughout the New Testament? He talked about finances because finance can be a king in your heart. It can take a seat, be enthroned in our hearts. How we handle finances. So for the single person out there, I would say you want to start to be financially stable and to get to that place of financial stability. You want to start looking at 401ks, right? You want to start making sure that, if your company is going to match what you give, and you don't take advantage of them. You may say, well, I don't have enough money to give anything monthly towards, any savings account or 401k or whatever. Okay, if we have money to get nails done, hair done, buy the latest gadgets and the latest cars and rims on our cars and all these other stuff that adds up, right? Which doesn't add to your overall net worth.
So to your point, so the first thing you really need to do is understand what your financial situation is. Where am I? So a lot of people don't know where they are. They don't know what their net worth is. They don't know what their
What's the net worth, babe?
Net worth, well, you testing me?
It's your expense.
Your net worth is how much you own versus how much you owe. If you owe more than you earn, then you have a negative net value, a negative net worth. If you have more than you owe, then you have a positive net value. So you have to understand, okay, what is my net? What do I have and what do I owe? How much money am I making? How much money am I spending? Where is my money going? So once you get a good understanding of how your money is being moved in and out, then you can start making some decisions. Say, okay, wait a minute, I'm spending $1,000 going out to eat every month, so I need to cut that out. I'm spending $6,000 a year on going to travel, so I need to bring that down. And so now I start to bring these things down. Now it gives me room to start now making my money work for me. I start investing it. I start the 401ks, investing it in different areas and so forth. So now you start making your money work for you. You start raising your financial stability and your net worth. So now you're not a slave to the lender anymore. And
babe, you've always said that we can actually start investing with little bit of money.
Yes, very much so.
Especially in this pandemic.
There are so many tools nowadays that you can start investing with $5. Can you give one?
Don't y'all want to know at least one? Yeah, they want to know one.
I'll give you a few.
Okay.
All right. So you have stuff like Acorn. You have stuff like Robinhood. You have stuff like Betterment.com. I mean, I guess you could put those links in your.
Oh, okay, yes, I'll put it. Yeah, I'll put the link in the description.
So you have a slew of opportunities out there right now just to be involved in making your money work for you, as opposed to you working for your money all the time. Mm-hmm. And so you want to bring that financial stability. And to your point, you're talking about. So you want to make sure that you're working towards that, right? Maybe you're not there right now. Maybe you're not where you want to be financially, but have a plan in place for you to get to where you want to get to and work that plan. You understand? So that when you're getting ready for a relationship, you're getting ready for marriage, you may not be in a positive net worth yet. You may not be where you want to be financially, but at least you have a plan on how to get there.
That's good.
And then that person coming alongside with you now can help you get to that plan even quicker. That's the way it's supposed to work.
I gotta say this because they always say that Benz was just he's a what an anomaly. He's a one-off, right?
They call me weird.
Not weird, but one-off. You don't get a guy like this all the time. And yeah, that's because I have him. But anyway, one of the things that he did when he realized, because I was helping out another single mom when we were dating and we got engaged. And she was a single mom and she was having a hard time, and I would give money to her. And he realized that I was giving money to her. Ben started having direct deposit into my bank account. Right? Because he didn't want me helping this person to the place where I was barely making it, right? Couldn't pay my bills. And so I saw that signs, right? These are some signs that I wasn't looking for him to give me this. He wasn't trying to get anything in return from me. He was living in another state. I was living in another state. But he was so concerned about my overall security, right? He wanted to make sure that my bills were paid, that I was able to live. And yes, we had those conversations of, okay, don't waste your money. You don't want to be spending what you do not have. But since you're tight, I want to be able to help you in this regard. And so he was doing all that. So there were some things that I saw in Benz that just added my love for this man coming into my life. I didn't need him. So let's just fix that. It wasn't that I needed Benz, but I realized when he came into my life and God brought into my life how much he was a blessing to my life. He said he needed me. So anyway, so I just want to speak to the single ladies for a second. I went and got my own place, right? And so I was making sure that I was living on my own. I was taking care of my own, even though it was paycheck to paycheck or whatever the case may be. At least I was doing that. I was making sure that I could take care. I could tend to. I wasn't doing this to get a marriage. I was doing this because of self-worth and self-value. So how I'm able to take care of my home, how am I able to, if I need to travel somewhere, take my daughter to Disney or whatever the case may be. These were things that I was doing before a mate, before a man came into the picture. If I wanted to travel, if I wanted to take my daughter somewhere or buy her something or live on my own and all these other things and not having to run up the credit card, but being able to be self-sustaining between God and I, and having some kind of financial management. Yes, I needed help, but I was moving in some kind of direction, right? You don't want all your money going to outward appearance, and your net value is in the negative, but you look good, right? You have this big fancy car, but the monthly payments are killing you. Benz had that little car that made me think he was in poverty, but he had investment accounts and 401ks and all these savings that we were able to go in and buy our townhouse going in after marriage. So all these things were, these are the things that we need to look at, ladies and gentlemen, because they bind you. They're in your marriage. They're going to show up in the marriage. And so we want to make sure that we're able to talk about this. But when we're dating, we don't talk about these things. These things are not part of the conversation. I want to leave with one last thing, and then we'll stop here and go into the and cut here, and then next week we'll pick up 5 more topics. I got to say this about you, babe, because when I met Benz, I was a believer. I love the Lord. Okay, what attracted me and made me know that Benz was the one? He guarded my spirituality. So if I went to visit him in New York, he guarded my spirituality, my sexuality, right? The whole kissing thing and all. And it wasn't that he wasn't attracted to me. He was attracted to me. But I remember one day he said, because I was trying to kiss him. Stop it. And he said, I don't want you to regret. And he's, no, that's not what you didn't end up saying that. But before that, what you said was, I don't want to come between what you have with God. I was like, what? This gotta be the guy for me. And he was standing on that, like really not wanting to come between my relationship with God at the cost of his desires. At the cost of his desires. This is what listen, whoever they are before marriage is who they are in the marriage. The sacrifice that this man was communicating was huge. And it's what I see even now into our marriage. The sacrifice. Ladies and gentlemen, it's beyond the outward appearance. It's beyond the looks. And we'll talk about that in the coming weeks. We'll talk about what are we looking for. And we'll bring up more about Bentz and I's differences because it's very strong. It's very different. We have a lot of differences. I'm sure you saw it on the episode today that we're very different. But I'm glad he's the one that God assigned to me. I am so blessed that he's the one, difference and all. I'm blessed that he's the father of my children. I'm blessed that I get to come home to him every single day. I look forward to coming home to this man. Honestly, when I'm preaching, and Bentz will tell you, I look for him out in that, wherever I'm preaching or teaching at. I look for, when I see him out there, there's an air about me. When I don't see him, I'm wondering, where is this man? He better get here soon. Because Bentz, he's just a rock. God has placed him as, and this is what marriage is supposed to be. This is what it's supposed to look like. They bring out the best in you. You bring out the best in them. They support your value. They support your self-worth. And they don't give it to you. They support it. It's not a competition. We're on the same team. He wins, I win. I win, he wins. When I become a liability because I'm spending all the money in the marriage, it impacts him, and vice versa. And so this is the thing: compatibility, being equally yoked, having those boundaries in and outside of marriage. All these things are helping to build not just a strong foundation into marriage, but it also helps to build and develop yourself outside of marriage. And then, I'll leave you with this. If you're in a relationship right now and it doesn't look like this, this took time for us to get here. But we were both headed in the same direction and we both wanted it.
That's why that yoke is so important.
Yeah, the yoke is very important because now when we have problems, we both want the same results. We both want the same outcomes, and we're both willing to pay the price for it. You're going to pay a price. You want a marriage to work? You want a strong, healthy marriage? Be ready to pay a price. What's that price? Shut your mouth at times when you want to have the last say. You want to keep arguing.
Mm-hmm. Or you want to give up your garage for...
Yeah. Listen, he gave up this garage. He got his pool table. He loved playing pool. He got rid. I don't even know why he loved playing pool. That's boring. But anyway, he got rid of his pool table. He got rid of his racks and all this other stuff that was in this garage because that's what I wanted, right? So he made those Listen, marriage is about sacrifice. And you're in that relationship and you're thinking, well, my spouse don't sacrifice for me. There's still hope. There's still hope. You be that.
Exactly. You start. You be the example.
Start. Be the example. Be the model. And let God work on you. And do not be afraid to have hard conversations. Do not be afraid. When God is working on you, there's a confidence that you have in him that enables you to have those difficult conversations. Not only that, it will give you wisdom. How to have the conversation. When to have the conversation. What to say in the conversation. When to pull back.
When to have patience in different situations.
Yes.
Absolutely.
When to have patience, how to release patience and grace and making room for each other's weaknesses and flaws. Not trying to make him or her into the person you want, but praying that they become the person God wants. That's the key. Babe, did you like that just now?
You always got it. Throw it out there, babe.
So guys, I hope this was a blessing for you. I'm sorry if it went too long. We had a lot of stuff going on. Next week, we're going to cover how much grace do we give each other? How much room do we give each other while we're dating before we say this ain't going to work? How much do we do? And even in marriage, how much do you take in a marriage before you say, I don't think this is working out? We're going to talk about how do I deal with the healing and the baggage prior to me getting into marriage, and even the healing and the baggage that I still have in the marriage. We're going to talk about bringing your single life into your married life, right? And red flags. We're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about the flags that we have to be careful of, and what to do when we do see those flags. And are all flags equal? What flags are we willing to put up with, and the flags that we're not willing to put up with? So that'll be next week.
Cool.
Okay. So guys, thank you for being a part of this. Love you guys. Again, share this out with as many people as you can, and tune in next week. God bless you. I pray for your relationships, that it will grow, and the relationships that are toxic, that you're in, that just needs to be severed. I pray that God will give you the bold strength to know when to sever those ties. God bless you. Love you guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.